Ministry, as we found in Mark 6. The lesson for us is that somewhere along the line, these men thought that they had it in themselves. They had what it took to do the work of God. Somewhere along the line, they had become self-sufficient. And instead of communing with God and relying on God, they had started to look to themselves and rely on themselves. What is prayer? Prayer is a humble dependence on God. Look through the Old Testament. What is one of the marks of the unconverted? What is one of the marks of the unconverted? One of the marks of the unconverted is that they do not call upon God. And so the Lord would use this failure to teach them of the importance both of individual and corporate prayer, that the church must stand on its knees, that the church can only advance as it walks in dependence on Christ. For us, prayer on a Wednesday night, when we pray in our church, is not something we do for cosmetic value. It is not a convenient crutch. It is not just a religious activity. For us, prayer is the source and strength of our very existence. Can I call upon you in the name of the Lord to recommit yourself to prayer as a church? One of the dangers of the blessings of God is when we forget the God of the blessings. One of the dangers when God begins to flood us with all that we need and we don't know the struggle is to stop bending the knees. That was the first lesson. In the passage before us, verse 30 to 50, there is another lesson. Now the units can be dealt with separately, and they are wonderful units. Humility, the need to understand that following Christ is being a servant. Working with others who are not of our group. Lord, we saw one casting out demons in your name and we forbade him. The danger of causing others to stumble. Christ said it is better that a heavy millstone is hung around your neck and cast into the sea. These are all wonderful units, and the closing sentence, have salt in yourselves and be at peace with one another. These are all wonderful truths that can all stand separate. But Mark, under the Holy Spirit, puts them together in this particular order because there is a central truth that Mark wants us to grasp, more importantly, that God wants us to learn. You see, the passage begins with Jesus saying, "What were you discussing on the way?" Because on the way they were discussing who would be the greatest. And then it closes with verse 50. "Have salt in yourselves and be at peace with one another." You see, everything in between is connected. The question, what were you discussing and they were discussing who would be the greatest. It's connected with the conclusion of the call, because it is a command, be at peace, in verse 50. So while each unit of thought can stand on its own, really and truly they are connected to each other. You see, the passage is teaching us what Christ's own suffering and death, burial and resurrection should mean to us, and the effect it should have on us. Mark Strauss, in his commentary, he said the main idea of this passage, he says, when Jesus predicts for a second time his coming suffering and death in Jerusalem, his disciples respond with incomprehension, pride, and jealousy. Jesus answers by teaching about true greatness, which means setting aside personal ambition and welcoming the least of God's people. He also teaches about the high cost of discipleship, which calls for radical self-denial in light of the eternal consequences of sin. So what is this passage about? Jesus just predicted for the second time in Mark his death. This time he says he will be delivered into the hands of men. Again, conditioned by an incomplete understanding of the Messianic mission, conditioned by partial blindness as to the suffering Messiah. You remember we explained to them that Elijah has indeed come, and they did to him whatever has been listed of him, so also shall be done to the Son of Man. He had to keep reminding them that God's redemptive program is not a political or a temporal or material program. God's redemptive program is one of suffering and death. But programmed by their own misunderstanding of Scripture and conditioned by their culture, Christ's prediction of his own death, burial, and resurrection never got through to them. And so, when he gave the prediction of his death, again, they started to argue, conditioned by their ambition and culture, who is the greatest? I think I told you when I dealt with this the last time, it's like people who had, you have a relative who just died, and the funeral home is coming to collect the body, and while the funeral home is coming to collect the body, the family they all begin to argue who will get what. And sometimes fights break out. It's inappropriate, isn't it? It's ungodly. Well, these brethren here are programmed and conditioned, as I said, by a misunderstanding, partial blindness of the Old Testament predictions, and secondly, they were conditioned by their culture that taught them that positions of prominence were life's greatest achievements. Recognition, notoriety. And so Jesus gives us three powerful lessons to learn from this passage, and I will try to unravel them in the next few minutes. He says, my suffering, death, burial, and resurrection calls for absolute humility. We dealt with this some, so I'm not going to be in detail. Now here, the gospel is being lived out. Jesus is the gospel. His work is the work of the gospel. The work of redemption Here he is. He's preaching the gospel by his words, by his actions, and by what he's about to accomplish. And he's saying, if you're going to respond to me appropriately, the first thing you've got to keep in mind is that you've got to put aside all selfish ambition and all selfish interest. What did you just say? It's an echo of the first time we did it in Mark, where it says, if any man will come after me, he must what? Deny himself. And so, in this account, Mark is saying the same thing. He's saying, if you are going to follow the gospel, if you are going to follow the Christ who in obedience to the Father accepted suffering servanthood to take the place of unworthy sinners and accomplish the Father's will in salvation, if you're going to respond to the gospel, if you're going to respond to me, set aside all selfish and personal ambition. Jesus teaches them humility. True humility, he says, is shown in the willingness to take last place and be servant of all. Verse 35. If anyone wants to be first, have the prominence, have the preeminence, have the first place, he is the one who should take the last place, the most unnoticed place, and he is the one who should don on a servant's garment and serve the others. Hybert tells us Jesus does not despise the desire to be first. But his definition of greatness stands the world's ordering of priorities on its head and radically challenges a fundamental assumption about achievement. The world says, look for first place, take charge, get recognition, tell people what to do, make people serve you. Jesus says, no. True greatness is you becoming the nothing and serving the Lord. Another writer will go on to tell us that the spirit of service is the passport to eminence in the kingdom of God. For it is the spirit of the Master who himself became a servant of all. The word for servant here is diakonos, from which we get our word deacon, one who serves. And again, Matthew 26 says, it is not this way among you. Whoever wishes to become great among you shall be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life a ransom for many. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be beaconed to, but to beacon to others. True humility begins by displaying a willingness to take the last place and to serve. Isn't this what we saw in John 13? When our blessed Lord would disrobe himself and would take a basin and wash those cracked, callous, grimy feet of his disciples, displaying ultimate servanthood. The King of Glory condescending to wash the filthy feet of men. What a wonderful picture of redemption as the all-glorious holy God condescends to take on sin upon himself that he might make us filthy sinners clean. True humility is shown in receiving the least and most insignificant of God's people. Look at verse 36. Taking a child, he set him before them, and taking him in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever receives one child like this in my name receives me, and whoever receives me doesn't receive me, but him who sent me." What does this mean? We love babies in this church, don't we? Babies are precious things. In the first century, a little child was considered an insignificant entity. Thank God we moved in the right direction. But children were considered of little or no value. Max Strauss says, while in Western culture we tend to view children as innocent, vulnerable, gentle, even pure, in first century culture they were viewed as insignificant and having no social status. Therefore, welcoming a little child means breaking social norms, lowering oneself to accept another of lower status, and thereby risking one's own position of power and prestige. By receiving this child, the focus is not on the child or his attitude. The focus is on Christ accepting this child. The focus is on the grace of God accepting others. True humility is shown, Jesus says, when we are willing to identify with, accept, affiliate with those whom the world considers unimportant, insignificant, unworthy, or worthless. Strauss goes on to say the child represents a follower of Jesus, more specifically a vulnerable, lowly one. Jesus' point, therefore, is that true servant leadership means welcoming those of his followers who are deemed irrelevant and unworthy of such recognition. True servant leadership flips social hierarchy on its head, lifting up and serving those of lower status in the eyes of the world. That's what he illustrates. No, I have this at the end of the sermon, but I just can't help myself because isn't that what he did? His example of going to the cross, taking the place of sinners, dying for ungrateful wretches rebelling against God, is humbling himself to accomplish such a thing, beautifully expressed, almost poetically in Philippians 2. He says true humility is shown in the willingness to leave the highest position and identify with those in the lowest position. Cliques in church can be a dangerous thing. If it prevents you or prejudices you to not affiliate with others that you may unconsciously or consciously categorize as an insignificant, unimportant, of little or no value. Oh, amen? I wonder if I could take Ephesians 2, Pastor. And from verse 11 down to the end. And if I could somehow blazon it, burn it, etch it, and work it through my own soul and that of our church, where we will see that he removed the barrier to the blood of the cross. Distinctions, differences, racial, religious, all removed through the blood of the Son of God, so that in him there is neither Jew nor Greek, barbarian nor Scythian, bond nor free, male nor female. We are one with equal standing, accepted by the grace of God in Christ in the sight of God. True humility is shown in receiving the least and insignificant of God's people. But I want you to notice something here. That with this exercise of true humility, there is a promise of God's approval. And there's really more than a hint of greater intimacy with the triune God. Look at verse 37. Whoever receives one child like this in my name receives me. And whoever receives me does not receive me, but who sent me. To receive, to identify, to accept, to affiliate with one of God's children, and here we're not talking about literal children, though it would include believing children. The issue here is those who are considered of little or no value in the eyes of the world, they're despised by the world. He says, when you identify with the humble, with the insignificant, with the unimportant, he says, you are welcoming me. You're receiving me. And he says, not only are you receiving me, but you're receiving the one who sent me. Oh, brethren, there's a beautiful scripture in Isaiah that the high and lofty one dwells with the lowly. The high and lofty one dwells with the broken and contrite in heart. The idea is that those who humble themselves experience an intimacy with God, a closeness with God that you cannot otherwise. A proud person is a very pathetic person. A humble person is the one that God dwells with. So when you have God, you have everything. Son, whom am I? Whom am I? Whom have I in heaven? Whom do I desire upon earth but thee? The Lord is my portion and the lot of my inheritance. He that has the Son, oh, how many times we quote that scripture? He that has the Son has life. Jesus answered him and said in John 14:23, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our abode with him. You see, the one who identifies with God's people accepts Christ. And the one who accepts Christ opens the door for greater intimacy and fellowship with the true and living God. True humility is shown in being gracious and encouraging toward others who are not of our society. Look at verse 38. Jesus said to him, Teacher, we saw someone casting out demons in your name, and we tried to prevent him because he was not following us. Jesus said, do not hinder him, for there is no one who will perform a miracle in my name and be able soon afterward to speak evil of you. And John said, we saw someone doing what nine of our fellow brethren cannot do, casting out demons. And we tried to stop him because he didn't wear our badge. Don't take this the wrong way, but he was not reformed. Alright. Do I need to tell you that here we're not talking about those who preach a false gospel? In Galatians 1 is clear, if any man preach any other gospel be it an angel from heaven also, than the one that Paul preached, which is salvation by grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, for the glory of God alone. He says, that man is accursed. We're not talking about somebody or some group preaching a false gospel. But we're talking about those involved in the work of God who may be doing a far better, more successful work than us. And we wouldn't go on and say we are jealous. They're stealing our thunder. But in sometimes and often subtle ways, we downplay their efforts. Thank God for this church. But thank God this is not the only church the Lord has in our nation. Amen? For there is so much work to do. You see, when we become proud, we begin to think of our own territory. We begin to think of our own name. How many hits we have had. How much recognition we have had. We want to know that we are known, and when there are others who are more known, we want to undermine their influence. And we hide it behind orthodoxy. When the truth is, we're just concerned about our own prideful self. True humility is shown in being gracious and encouraging toward others who are not of our society. Instead of hindering them, verse 41 says, we help them. For whoever gives a cup of water to drink, whoever gives you a cup of water to drink because of your name as followers of Christ, truly I say to you, will not lose a reward. See, he's saying, don't hinder them. In fact, I want you to know that in any way you assist them, that you will be rewarded. We can't work on all the implications of this. And of course, there's an irreducible minimum of the gospel. We cannot and should not support anyone who preaches a false gospel that glorifies man and diminishes God. We understand. But we understand that there are many genuine brothers and sisters involved in the work of God, and believe me, a cup of water will go a long way in helping. There are brethren whom I meet. In fact, one of the young men who recently got a couple of Sundays ago got ordained to the gospel ministry as a pastor. Do you know what he needs? Books. Books. We who are inundated with books, we who are inundated with resources, do you know what it would mean for someone like that if we were to give him a cup of water to drink? Help. You see, the truth is, the issue at stake is not the promotion of our name or our cause. The issue at stake is the promotion of the Lord's name. Paul would say, I want you to know, brethren, that my circumstances have turned out for the greater progress of the gospel, so that my imprisonment in the cause of Christ has become well known throughout the whole Praetorian Guard and to everyone else. And I boast of the brethren trusting in the Lord because of my imprisonment. I have found more courage to speak the word of God without fear. Some, to be sure, are preaching Christ even from envy and strife, some also from goodwill. The latter do it out of love, knowing that I am appointed for the defense of the gospel. The former proclaim Christ out of selfish ambition rather than pure motives, thinking to cause me distress in my imprisonment. What then? Only that in every way, whether in pretense or in truth, Christ is proclaimed. And in this I rejoice. Yes, and will rejoice. It's not about us. It's about his name. John was speaking about his own territory, his own name, his own society. And Jesus is going to tell you, no one can perform a miracle in my name and in the next heartbeat turn against me. Jesus did not use the opportunity to broadside John, but he did tell him, it's about my name. We do not pray that our church be glorified. We do not pray that our pastors be glorified. We pray that the name of the only Son of God be glorified. Well, let me go to the second one. This prediction of Christ's suffering and death on the cross. The implication is one, there's a radical call for humility, but secondly, there is also a radical call to holiness. Look at verse 42. Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe to stumble, it will be better for him if with a heavy millstone hung around his neck he had been cast into the sea. Now, it's all connected. Whoever sets up a trap. The term calls to stumble, the word scandal, scandalism. That's where the Greek word comes from. It means to cause to sin, to fall into sin, to lose faith. One writer says, but it is perhaps better left ambiguous as simply to stumble or downfall. The idea here is that the Lord is saying that a call to follow him means that we will not put a stumbling block, we will not cause to fall, cause to sin any one of his children. The little ones, again, are not the children, though there's application that the little ones are those common believers in Christ who may go totally unnoticed. He said that a large millstone. Large millstone is literally a millstone of a donkey. Some of you in your Bibles will see in your marginal reference, it is literally a millstone of a donkey, meaning one that required a large animal to turn rather than one turned by human hands. The idea here, Jesus saying, such an ungodly, wicked act of making another believer stumble. He says, for such a person, let him know it would have been better for him if a mob would have come and take the heavy stone found in the grinding mill and tie it around him and bury him in the bottom of the sea. You remember when David sinned and the prophet brought it to his attention and David says, I have sinned. The prophet said, however, because by this deed you have given occasion to the enemies of the Lord to blaspheme. The child also that is born you shall surely die. I mean, God is saying, David, you have become a stumbling block by your actions. In 1 Corinthians 5, the Apostle Paul wrote in reference to the immoral brother, but actually, he says, I wrote to you not to associate with any so-called brother if he's an immoral person or covetous or an idolater or a reviler or a drunkard or a swindler, not even if he was such a one. Paul says, have nothing to do with it. In Galatians 2, when Peter conducted himself inappropriately, fearing those from a strong Jewish element, Paul the apostle said, but when Cephas came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face because he stood to them. Because why? Peter, by his behavior, was conveying the wrong message to the Gentiles that in order to be saved, they must, in addition to believe in Christ, they must also be circumcised or to become the Jew. Paul said that's wrong. All they have to do is believe in Christ. take up your cross and follow Christ. The call that comes to us in light of Christ going to Jerusalem, taking our place, dying our death for our sins. The call that comes to us in light of the one who surrendered himself to the will of the Father in the place of sinners, becoming a servant who will suffer and die. The call to us is that we must be radically holy. That we must not put a stumbling block in the pathway of others, and this is in light of the fact that sins carry eternal consequences. Do you notice how many times unquenchable fire, verse 43, verse 45, to be cast into hell, verse 47, to be cast into hell. He said, deal with anything in you that would enable you to be a stumbling block to others. And he says it may be as important to you as your right hand, earning a living. It may be as important to you as your feet to take you to places. It may be as important to you as your eye. He says, get rid of it. Anything in you that causes you to be a stumbling block to another brother or sister, he says, however much valuable it may be to you, he says, do what is necessary, get rid of it, because the consequences for such sin is eternal damnation. I don't know what you're saying, but don't we preach that once saved, always saved? Oh, no, we don't preach that. We preach once truly saved, always saved. And we preach that those who are saved will persevere to the end. Hell here, Gehenna, has reference to that dump there in the southwestern part of Jerusalem, a valley, where in Old Testament times parents will burn their children to Moloch. And Josiah came and put an end to that in 2 Kings 23. They made it a garbage dump. And the fire, we were told, kept burning all the time, all the time, all the time. Jesus would say in Matthew 25:41, then he will say to those on this level path to be accursed ones into eternal fire, which has been prepared for the devil and his angels. Well, let me just put this in a nutshell. A call to follow Christ is a call to have a radical, merciless approach to sin. You say, but this has to be talking about unsaved people, because he's talking about it is better to enter life, it is better to enter life, it is better to enter the kingdom, rather than it has to be talking, here it's what's it saying. A failure to deal with sin in ourselves that often give occasion to sin in others is an indication that we are not saved. The Bible is clear. Walking in sin and walking with Christ is in opposite directions. One who habitually practices sin. One who consciously, habitually plans and practices sin. Let me say something to young people. You see, when you want to get involved with unsaved people and think it's okay, you want to rewrite the script. And that is why many good young people with great potential to serve the Lord have strayed, because they want to rewrite God's script. They want to rewrite God's word. Failure to deal with sinful tendencies in ourselves may be an indication that we are unsaved. I mean, the Apostle Paul said it in 1 Corinthians 9:27, "But I discipline my body and make it my slave, so that after I have preached to others, I myself will not be disqualified." And some may say, well, that refers to being in the apostolic ministry. No argument there, but the word he uses simply means a reprobate. And Paul is saying, failure to beat my body blue-black, bring it in subjection, deal with my appetites that cause me to transgress God's law. He said, failure to deal seriously with sin would lead me to hell. But I thought we could kind of juggle both. Oh, my old Chinese proverbs. So important. He who walks in the road get bumps, both sides. He's either your Lord or he's nothing to you. You know what grieves us? I think my heart is going to break one of these days. What weighs down, I think what weighs down on us is that there are those of you who can tell us the truth, but you're living in violation of the truth. And what worries us is not that you say you know the truth and you're living in violation of the truth. What worries us is that you know. And you tell me you're saved. Well, you have to explain to me what Paul the Apostle means when he says, no drunkard, no reviler. You have to explain to me what he means when he says this. You have to explain to me what shall we say then, are we to continue in sin so that grace may increase? You have to explain to me, may it never be, how shall we who died to sin still live? Call to follow Christ. There's a call for radical holiness. A merciless mutilation of anything and everything that gets between us and our walk with God. And in this particular passage, connected to causing another person to stumble. Husbands, do you do things to make your wives stumble? Wives, you encourage your husbands in that which is wrong. Parents, by your example, you lead your children into a growing insensitivity to sin, so much so that they become progressively entrapped, and their sense of right and wrong is blurred, if not totally destroyed. And when the word of God is preached, they watch us and they smile as they inch closer and closer to the precipice of Gehenna. Hell is real because God's justice is real. Hell is real because God's judgment is real. Hell is real because God cannot undo his godness. God has to be eternally true to what he is, who he is. And God's holiness demands holiness. And God's justice demands that which violates his holiness be judged. And unless your sins are judged in Christ, they will be judged in an eternal hell. Total separation from God. Get saved. If you're lost, don't leave here to do until you get saved. You're wondering if I've lost track of time, and you're absolutely right. So let me bring it to the last one. The call of the Father.